Welcome to the second unit 2 of practice book 2.1 Real Shanghai Mathematics. This is quite a large unit, so I will try and do my best not to make it too long. It consists of 13 sections and pretty much is an introduction to multiplication, which is the title of the first one. So from there you can see pictures 1a. You've got strawberries and 5. So it's about recognizing the relationship between um, addition and multiplication. So in this case, you have 5 plus 5 plus 5, which equals 15. And that's the same as 3 lots of 5s. So 3 lots of 5s or 3 times 5s, but at the moment the learning is 3 lots of 5s. And you would put then the added together is 15. Again, the answers should be in Colin's website. As I mentioned before, go to the answers. You should be able to do Google and find the answers there. Again, you will need the book to be able to get access to the answers, as they are password protected. But once you put the right password in based upon the book that you have purchased, then you have access to that and can download it. Moving on to B, again, there's 4 plus 4 plus 4, which equals 12, and that's the same as 3 lots of 4s, so 3 4s. And then you've got 2a, circle the dots and complete the sentence. So the important bit here is the consistency. So you can see the 4 circles have been circled, so each one has to be 4. And because they have to be a repetition, so 5 plus 5 plus 5, then we can say 5 times 3. We can't do 5 plus 5 plus 4 and then pretend that it's 5 times 4 or so like that. No, they have to be the same number. So how many 4s are there? There are 3 4s, and then addition sentence would be 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12, and so on. 4 5s added together is so forth. So if you can circle the 5s, these question B, in 2b, circle the put a ring around the 5 circles. So probably easiest is to do it in the row section, and then you can be able to do that. Circle the triangle in 2 ways, then complete the sentence. So this would be 2 ways. I would use the rows method, in which case it would be 5 4s, and the other one you could do the column method, would be the other way for the 2 level B, and that will give you column method will give you how many? Will give you 4 5s, okay, and so on and so forth. And then moving on to question 1, level A, page 13. How many pairs are there? Again, getting you familiar with those things, which are going to be 4 lots of 5s, and the addition would be 5 plus 5 plus 5. How many have we got? Yeah, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which equals 20. And the way to write the multiplication, so the introducing it, would be 4 times 5 or 5 times 4, whichever way around you want to do it. It should be the same. And so they're getting you familiar with that. And then again, B, similar to that, addition sentence would be the addition 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And multiplication sentence would be 2 times 4. The factors are, so they're introducing you to factors and products. So the factors are the numbers that have been times together, and product means the 2 numbers times together. So in this case, the factors are 2 and 4, and the product is 8. And the multiplication sentence would be 2 times 4 equals 8. And then moving on to question 2, again, should be straightforward. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 15. So that's the same as 3 times 5, which equals 15, and so on and so forth. And the bottom one will do 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals 40. So that'll be same as 10 times 4. And if you write 4 times 10, 10 times 4, it makes no difference as long as the answer is the same. It's just getting you familiar with the concept of multiplication. And then these are just repetitions, really. Again, multiplication, remember, you're going to put times. So in 2a will be 3 times 4, and in B, for level B, would be 4 times 4. Okay, moving on to question 15, page 15. 1a, use pictures to help you find the missing numbers. So again, these are use the rows or use the column methods, but they've done it, helped you out for that one. So they've done it as rows. So there'll be 3 lots of, and how many each of them 6s added together. So 3 times 6. And for these ones, getting used to multiplications, you will need to start using your fingers. But at the moment, there's a combination between addition and multiplication. So at the moment it's fine to do 6 plus 6 plus 6, okay, in the head, 6 plus 6 plus 6, to get the answer for that. And then similar to the other one as well, and you can see at the bottom, you'll write in, you're going to be writing 3 times 6 equals 6 times 3. The order, like addition, multiplication is similar. The order does not make a difference, whereas in takeaway and divide, the order is very important. And moving on to B, again, it should be straightforward. Again, 2 times 4 and 4 times 2 will be the same. Fill in the missing numbers for page 16. 2a, 3 times 7, so that's the same as the 3 squares. So you're going to have to put 7 plus 7 plus 7. Okay, and that's how you work out the answer. Then you can do the calculation. 7 times 3, so this time there are 7 boxes, so you're going to have to write 3 in each one, and the answer for them is the same. So you can either do 7 times 3 or 3 times 7. Same, and you could do either in pluses 3s or 7 plus 7 plus 7. Again, you're realizing the relationship between the two, and 3 times 5 is the same as 5 times 3, getting you to realize that either way around. So 2 times 9 is equal to 9 times 2, and so on and so forth. And 2 times 6 and 6 times 2 is the same as 6 plus 6. And 3 times plus 3 is 3 times 4 equals 4 times 3, and then you can write the answer there. And the level B is a little bit more harder, but it should be straightforward. So page 16, B, a square here just basically means, it's because both of them are the same shape, it means the number has to be the same. So what same number added together gives you 10? Can't be 4, because 4 plus 4 equals 8, so on and so forth, and the work is 5. And same with B, a number that's added again and again and again 5 times will give you 10, and the number will be, and has to be the same number. So again, the relationship between times. So one number times by 5, because 5 lots happening, gives you 10. So some number times by 5 gives you 10, that's 2. And the same with the C, which will be 6, and D would be 9. And then moving on to the next one, as I say, there's lots of sections in here, so don't want to take too much time. And this is labeled as, look at the picture and write the multiplication sentence. So the relationship between the two of them. Again, you need to know the rows and the columns. So 1a, there are how many rows? There are 3 rows, and there are how many in each row? There are 5 in each row, and therefore there are, or if you do in column, there are this many columns, which is what, 5 columns and 2. So both ways will give you the same answer, and then you repeat that, but instead we're going to write there are such and such rows of ducks or swans, and the other one will be there are so many columns of swans. Page 18, look at the picture and make up some sentences about them. There are so many books in each group, and there are so many groups. So there are how many books in each group? So they're putting groups. So each group has 6, and there are 3 groups. So the question will be, don't get too fixated on question and answer. So I would just go straight through it and just put 3 times 6 equals 18, or you can write 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, and they should be able to work it out. And then the bottom bit is draw a different way to show 12. So they've shown 12 in that particular way. You can also do it in rows of 6, 2 lots of rows of 6, or you can do two columns of 6s, either way. So 4 times 3 is one way of doing it. The other way is doing it 2 times 6, 6 times 2, and those will also equal 12. Then moving on to the next one, which is getting you familiar with the term called times. And that's here. Fill in the missing numbers using the picture to help you. So if 3 triangle is 1 part, the number of circles is how many? Okay, so if 3, this is, I guess, a little bit confusing, but they are saying if 3 triangles is 1 part, the number of circles is how many parts? The number of circle is times the number of. Okay, so it's a bit confusing how they worded it, but they're basically saying the number of triangles is 1 part, and then there's how many these circles are going to be. How many? So the circles are 4 times as many as the triangles. So it'll be 4 times 3. Okay, so 4 times 3 will be the answer, equals 12. Again, if the way they phrased it is not that important, so if that's confusing, you can skip that and just go straight to the number sentence, which will be 4 times 3. Okay, so 4 times 3, which equals 12. And then moving on to the next page, page 20, circle and complete. If 2 bear biscuits is 1 part, so you put them into groups of 2. The rabbits, but the number of biscuits is how many parts? Number sentence equals. Okay, so it's confusing, but they basically want you to do a circle around the bird, so that'll be 1 part, so 2 birds, 1 part. So that means each of these needs to be in circles of 2, and then the number of rabbits you can work out by 2 times the number of circles there are. and then fill in the missing numbers. Again, should be straightforward. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, so that's going to be 12. There are 6 2's added together, that's 6 times 2, and so on and so forth. And then similar for the 8s. Okay, same wording is used, you should be familiar with that. So it'll be 4 8s altogether, 4 times 8, and you can do either way. And then moving on to question 4, draw lines to match the pairs. So getting familiar with 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. How many sixes were there in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 lots of 6s there. So that's the same as 4 times 6 or 6 times 4, which is the same thing. And then you got 4 plus 4 plus 4. 4 times 6 goes there. And you got 4 times 2 there and 3 times 5 there. So you'll be straightforward. Moving on to level B, which sometimes are much harder. So sometimes I will skip level B when I think there's not much progress in there. If the number of square is 2 times the number of circles. Okay, so if the number of circles square is 2 times the number of circles, the number of circles is the number of centers will be, but how many circles are there? There's 4, and it's 2 times, so 2 times 4 equals 8. And B, with the number of triangle, is 3 times the number, so be how many number of stars are there? There's 3, so 3 times 3. Draw the missing pictures. The number of the circle on the right is 2 times the number of circle on the left. Draw the missing picture. The number of on the right is 2 times the number. So you've got 5 there, so you need 10 in the other one, and if there's 2 times on the other side, then there needs to be less on this side. So less on the left side, so there'll be 2 little ones there. As I say, level B is a little bit more complicated, more difficult. If your child struggles with level B's and need more help, not a problem in my opinion, because the main things are the A's, which are going to build up the confidence, and level B just stretches the kids, especially if they're finding the material easier. Moving on to 4, which is the multiplication, and one of the most easiest multiplications, which has been done before, but now it's going to be labeled as multiplication. The multiplications of 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. for 1A, and going backwards should be able to be done as well. So 100, 90, 40, 70, and so on and so forth. And then C is going from 0, and then there's 40, and there's 80. So the number in between is a bit more tricky, I guess. So 0, 40, then there's 80. So what number is bang in between 40? That's going to be 20. So these are going up in 20s. 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Fill in the missing numbers. So these are 2 by doing 10 times 1 at the top, 10 times 3, 10 times 5 is 50, and so on. So you should realize straight away 10 time table is one of the easiest timetable, because all you do is add a 0. Add a 0. So 0 times 10 is 0, and if you want to add a 0 to 0, you can, but it still remains 0. And 2 times 10 is 20, so you're adding a 0, and the opposite will be, if you're moving from 40 divided by 10 or moving downwards, would be getting rid of a 0 at the end. Fill in the missing numbers, so again, should be straightforward. 80 equals 10 times what number? 8, so you need to be familiar with either way around, it should be fine. And they've put here, fill in the missing numbers. What have they done here? Okay, so they've also done a combination here. Let's see how they've done it. So when we do, have they introduced a concept here? Let's see, have they? Okay, I think they have. So let's do it the proper way. So one of the concepts they've introduced here, and let's write it down so we can be clear on this. It's called bid mass. Okay, so they're introducing the concept there. I'm going to write the term bid mass, but you don't need to get too fixated on that, because at the moment we're going to fix on sometimes called bid mass, sometimes called bod mass. Not really that difference really. It's called bid mass, and this is the order in which we do calculations. So we don't do it from right and left. What we do and we don't. So we can do it from right to left, but within that there's certain rules we have to do. If there's brackets, that comes first. Indices, which is up to the power. Division and multiplications come together, and addition and subtraction go together. So in this case, at the moment, all you're learning is, as you can see, for question 3, you've got combination of additions sometimes and takeaways, as well as times. So if there's additions and subtractions, then we do it in order, which is done before. But if there's multiplications and additions, then we do the following. Okay, so if that was confusing, not a problem at all. Main thing is that you know the following. So let's do a couple examples, and I can explain it to you. So we've got here 4 plus 2 times 10. Okay. Now in maths, we don't necessarily do it from right to left. First, we need to look at the symbols and see what level they are at. So we've got multiplications here, and we got addition. According to this, multiplications comes first in line in the word. So this has to be multiplication has to be done before that. So we have to do this first, which is 20, and then we add the 4. Okay, makes sense? So 20 add and then add 4. And if this is written 2 times 10 plus 4, again the same way around. We pick the multiplication first, then we do that. And is it any other way around? Okay, and we've got the other way around as well, which is got 8 times 10, take away 6. So in which case, again, we do multiplication first and then the subtraction, because addition and subtraction are at the same level and division and multiplication at the same level. These come first and this comes after last in the order. 8 times 10, which is 80, and then take away 6, right? Which equals 80 take away 6, so 74. Okay, so moving on to question 4. Read the question carefully and work out the answer. There are 10 biscuits on each plate. How many biscuits are there on 4 plates? So there's 10 times 4 equals 40. So I'm not going to do all of these because the examples are given there, so it should be straightforward. Emma has 5 times as many many puppies. So if I'm assuming there's 10, there's 10 times 5. That's how many there are. And number sentence 3 times 10 for the B. There are so many balloons together. How many small balloons are there all together? Number sentence. Answer, there are so many small balloons altogether. So 2, 4, 6. Okay, so there are so many balloons together. How many small balloons are there altogether? Okay, so you can do 2, 4, 6, 7. Are there 7? Yeah, 7. 7 times 3, so it's a bit more complicated. Or you can do the whole together, and then we can do subtracting from these numbers there. Okay. Okay, so for B is a little bit more complicated, small balloons, but it still should be able to do it, and it should be able to do by addition. And moving on to multiplications of 5, which is the next one, which is the 5th one. And then we've got first complete the sequences 5, 10, 15, 20. The child needs to get good at multiplications now. So even the 10 times table, they should be very comfortable with it. Here you can use your fingers. By fingers, I don't mean they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By fingers, I mean they have the fingers up and they can go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. And they should be familiar enough to go backwards as well, 120, 111. 110, 100, so on and so forth. And you know your child's comfortable with the able to go there. And multiplication 10 should be straightforward. So 6 times 10 will add 0, 60. Okay, very comfortable with that. And then moving on to multiplication, the 5 again, 5, 10, 15, 20, so far the sequence there. They need to be very familiar with the sequences. So 3 times 5, you can have your 3 fingers up, 5, 10, 15. So now you can use your finger just to get familiar with it. Okay, but you want to get to a stage where they can go through the table again in their head. But initially, you can use the fingers. Again, fingers are just to help you get to where the numbers are. So 3 times 5 again is 5, 10, 15. So they can hold up 3 fingers up and they go 5, 10, 15. 5 times something is 35. So they go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. How many fingers do I have up? 7. So it's 5 times 7. Okay, and so on and so forth. Fill in the missing numbers. These are your multiplications there. Again, you need to get good at multiplications. If your child is struggling with multiplications, take it one step at a time. Learn the 10 times table, learn the 5 times table, and then work your way up there. I think they have a few times tables in this section which you need to be familiar with, but it doesn't have to be all done in one go. And repetition is the key, little but often. So if you're doing with it every day outside of this work, you can just say, okay, let's go to the 5 times table with your child, and they go through with that. Go forward, go backwards, and then when they're comfortable with that, you go, okay, what's 5 times 5? 25. They should get very comfortable with it after with a lot of practice. Initially, yes, they might have to have their fingers up and go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. As I say, at the moment, not an issue in my opinion having the fingers up, and if they're struggling, then keep the fingers up and use that. But fingers up again in terms of going through the 5 times table, not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we're not doing addition now, we're doing 5 times table. Question 4, reason, calculate, and complete. So 4 times 5 equals 15 plus 5. and so forth. So they're just building on the times table. So just showing you 3 times 5 and 4 times 5. Every step you're adding 5 to them. So it's just by taking those forward and going forward. So 15 plus 5 equals 20. Then 5 times 5 would be 20 plus 5, which equals 30. Then it'd be 30 plus 5 equals 35. 25 plus 5 equals, what have you got here? Yes. Sorry, 15 plus 5, which equals 20. Yes, the 20 plus 5 equals 25, and then you got 25 plus 5 equals 30, and so on and so forth. And then the 9 times table, 9 times 5 you can do by takeaway. So you can do 10 times 5 is 50, and 9 times 5 is 50 take away 5, which is 45, and then the bottom will be 45 take away 5, which equals 40. So there are different ways of doing it, and it's not a bad way if your child is able to do it. It's doing the 8 times table, at least the 9 times table, by going backwards, by going, okay, so I know that 10 fingers up, 9 fingers up, so 10 fingers would have been 50, so we're going backwards, and that'll be 45, and another one backwards would be 80 if we're doing 5 times 8. Read the question carefully and work out the answers. There are 5 watermelons in each pile. How many watermelons are they? So again, 5 times 4 should be straightforward. There are 7 black ones in the zoo. The number of white ones is 5 times the number, so 7 times 5, that will be, to work it out. And then altogether will be just an addition there. And then level B, I have 5 stars. My number, so I told B is much harder. So sometimes the child may struggle with. Emma has how many stars? Poppy has how many stars? So with Emma, my number is twice as Alex. So Alex has 5, so 5 times 2. And then Poppy has um, Puppy has 4 times of Alex. Whatever the Alex's number was, then you times that by 4, and it gives you the answer for the Puppy one. And then moving on to the next one. So the multiplications are getting slightly harder, but and it's a good order really. 10 times table, 5 times table, and then moving on to the 2 times table, which is essentially just about doubling. Okay, so 2 times 9, that's a 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on and so forth, 10, 12. So the even numbers, 2 times 9 is 18. Question 2, again, should be straightforward. Factors, number 3, factors. Okay, so factors are just numbers that are times together to give you a product. So if you remember with the addition, they were calling them addend, and then calling it sum. Well, here in multiplications, we talk about factors and then product. And factors and products, there are terms you will need to know, apart from when addend is not important because it comes up in GCSE mathematics in terms of lowest common multiples and highest common factors, etc. And also the term products. Question 4, work out the answers. What is 2 times 5? So you can do 5 times 2 or 2 times 5, fine. 6 times 2. So you're learning the 2 times table, so try and do 2 times 6. But if your child is comfortable the other way around, as long as they get the right answer, it's not a problem. Question 5, work out the answers. There are so many hands. How many cockerels? So there's 2 there, and there'll be a cockerels is that many. So there are number is how many times? So that'll be 3 times that. So a rubber costs £2. Alex is £15. Is it enough to buy 7 rubbers? So what's 7 times 2? That equals 14, and therefore that is Alex has, so that is enough. Okay. And then question 2, work out the answers and write the missing numbers in the bracket. So it's going to be the same numbers, circles added on. So that's going to have to be a 2. So you work that one out. When you know that, you can substitute the circle ones. So star plus 2 plus 2 equals 13. 2 plus 4. 4 plus what number equals 13? That'll be 9. So that'll give you the answer for that. And then you could do 9 times the circle one if you know 9 times 2, which will be 18, and so forth. As I say, there's lots to go through, so I am going to skip some material and only concentrate on the ones that I think you may struggle with, or your child might struggle with, and need more information. So then now we move on to multiplication of 4. Again, you could use your fingers in terms of 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay, these multiplications are harder. As I said, this lesson is going to be split up into many parts. Okay, and make sure your child is comfortable with the 5 times table, 10 times table, 2 times table, and then move on to the 4 times table. Not jump straight into that and get the child confused. Question 2, first use times tables and write the answers in these brackets. Then write 2 multiplication setters for each one. So what number times 9 is 36? So that's 4 times 9. 4 times what number is 20? Is 4 times 5. And then 2 times something is 8. That will be 2 times 4. And getting just familiar with 4 times table, 4 times 9 is 36. So I need to get familiar with that. 4 added together is 8. 2 4s multiplied is also 8. So different ways of writing it. Question 5. 4 legs in each chair. How many legs in the 6 chairs? So 6 times 4. And then B, there are 4 quarters in a year. How many quarters are there in 7 years? So that'll be 4 in each year. So that'll be 4 times 7. So again, larger or smaller would be useful. Is the answer bigger or smaller, especially when division has been introduced? And then the next thing you need to work out, is it going to be times or addition? In this case, it's times. Uh, how many animals are there altogether in the field? How many feet are there altogether? So altogether, there are 5, and then how many feet are there altogether? So this would mean that you need to know how many feet they are, and because 4 times table, there'll be 4, so it'll be 5 times 4, 20. Moving on to the next one, which is multiplication of 8. So it's getting harder and harder in terms of your multiplications. Again, you can use your fingers just to get familiar with the 8, 16. Okay, so 8, 16, 24, 32, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80. Okay, so they're going up to the 10 times table, which is fine. And then you work, once you're comfortable with that, then you should be able to do 10 times 8. And if your child wants to do 10 times table to do that, it's not a problem. 8 times 7, that you need to be familiar with the 8 times table. Her mother's age is 4 times puppy's age, 8 times 4, that will be, and just getting you familiar with that. For a week, so that's 7. For that 3B will be 8 times 7. C is 8 times 2, and so on and so forth. Simple calculations which are shown there, so you can have put them, circle those together. So you got 3, 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3, that's going to be 8. So you can circle that, and then 1 plus 3 is another 8, and then another 8. And how many of those 8s are there? There'll be 8 times. I think maybe 4. You have to double check that, and that'll give you the answer rather than sitting there and doing all the calculations. And then moving on to 9, which is relationship between 2, 4, and 8. So it's a very good exercise. So just showing you what they look like. So from the table, this 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, and you go along the rows like that, and then 4 times 2, and all the way along the rows like that, and 8 times 2, 8 times 4, which will be the last row, and then fill in the missing numbers. So a combination of your 2s and 4s and 8 times table. Mental calculations, what do you notice? You should be able to do those in your head now. And the question 4, which is on page 33, which just shows you different ways of getting the same answer. So 2 times 4, which is same as 4 times 2, which is same as 8 times 1, which is 8. There are 4 buses, the number of cars is twice the number of buses, so 4 times 2. How many wheels are there? So there's 4 wheels on each one, so whatever the total was, then you need to times that by 4. And then in the clear class are divided into 3 groups. Each group would have 8 pupils. Each group has 4 pupils. How many groups can be class be divided into? Remember, think, complete, and calculate. And for something like 2, I would just skip it. It's such a wordy question and confusing question that I don't really think it's worth doing unless the child is very confident and he has to get his head around it. But it's a relatively big jump, really, and I definitely don't think it's worthwhile spending much time on that and getting your child confused when it's not really important, and probably haven't developed the skills to be able to jump to that kind of level and that kind of very confusing question. So then moving on to the next one, which is called division and dividing and division. So the opposite of times, getting used to that. So 18 take away 6, take away 6, take away another 6 equals 0. So there are 3 groups of 6. There are how many groups of 6? There are 3 groups of 6, and so it's 3 times 6. And take away to get to 0. So we're take away how many groups? So take away 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and you get there. And so the relationship really between dividing and adding. So dividing and multiplication, each jumps 8 units on the number line. So how many jumps are needed? So you do the same again. So it'll be 8, 16, 24. So there'll be 3 groups. So 8 times 4, 8 times 3 is 24, and so on and so forth. And you got B there, which is look at the picture, count, circle, fill in the circles. There are so many pandas. There are that many pandas. There are so many groups in that, and so C equals this times that. So you can do by rows. So or columns. You can say 5 times 4, which is 20, and there'll be 20 pandas altogether. Double check that. Yep. And then question page 36, use counters and divide and fill. So 15, and you have to share them between 3 people. How would you do that? So 3 times 5, 15 divided by 3. So dividing is by sharing, and there'll be so many pencils there. Okay. And again, if you're going to have to get that many stars, and you're going to share them out, there are 12 stars. You're going to share them in 3 parts, and then each part has to be equal. So each part is going to have to be 4. So 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So relationship between times and division. divide carrots equally between the rabbits, and how many. So again, we divide, so how many there carrots there are, to count them up or times them, which is 4 times 6, which is 24, and they divide them between 4 rabbits, so 24 divided by 4, which equals 6, and they will get 6 each. Write the letter correct to the answer. The quotient is 2, the divisor is 4, and the dividend is 8. So the correct answer is, again, you don't need to really need to know these terms, quotient and dividend, etc. is 8. Okay, so but generally you can see from here, quotient will be the answer. So it'll be 8 divided by 4, which equals 8 divided by 4, which equals 2. So that's what it really refers to. The question 3, read each question carefully and work out the answers. Again, it should be straightforward. Question level B, page 37. There are 20 oranges and 48 bananas. Each child is given 2 oranges. How many children can have oranges? So it will be 20 divided by 2. 8 bananas fit in the box. How many boxes are needed for 48 bananas? 48 divided by 8. And then moving on to 11, which is called using times tables to find the quotient. Again, quotient just means the answers when you're doing divisions. Okay, so 1a, for example, 36 divided by 4. The answer there is called the quotient according to this, but it should be straightforward. So 36 divided by 4. What's the answer there? So, okay, we have it in the 9 times table. We have it in the 4 times table, so it should be straightforward there. And just need to answer those questions there. Okay, fill in the missing numbers. There are various questions there. Again, you should be familiar with dividing and adding. Again, 56 divided by 7. You may say you don't know the 7 times table, but you should know the 8 times table, and it comes in the 8 times table. So you do need to know those times tables fairly well. 4 times 7, again, 4 times table, you know. Then 2 times table, you know. 5 times table is no, so that's what it's got is there. And then the 2 divisors in sentences, 2 multiplications, that's 4 times 7, 7 times 4, and the dividers will be 28 divided by 7 or 28 divided by 4. And then work out the answers for the other ones, which is straightforward. Find the suitable answer. So what times what? So 5 times 5 is 25. So anyone less than 5 will be, you could put how many numbers you could have, 4, 3, 2, 1 there, or even 0 in there. And so on and so forth. Fill in the patterns to fill in the missing numbers. So the pattern there, you can see 18 is 18 divided by 9 is 2, or 9 is 2. So 56 divided by what number is going to give you 8? That'll be 7. Or the bottom 2 numbers times together give you the top number. And so 5, 4, and 8, 8 for 64. Moving on to the second last one, which is called how many times. How many times? Where are we? There we are. Okay, how many times? Fill in the missing numbers using the pictures to help you. Should be straightforward there. If 4 oranges are 1 part, which means just put it into a circle. Watermelons, those there'll be 3 lots of those, so 3 times 4, or in this case 12 divided by 4, if that's what it's asking. The watermelons is how many times? Yeah, so there are 3 times as many there. And then the apples and strawberries there, again, it's more of a recap. It's been covered already. How many fishes go in each bowl? 32 divided by 4, which is the question 3. There are 8 pens, 64 pencils, some crayons. How many times greater is the number of pencils? How many times greater? So it's 8 times what number gives you 64? So that's 8. And then similar to B, and then how many altogether? And then moving on to the last part, which is division with a dividend of 0. This one here. Okay, so just reminding you of 0 times table. So anything divided by 0 is 0. And that's all they're getting you to work out, really. So 6 divided by 6 apples, yeah, 6 divided by what? 0, sorry, how they're doing this one. Let's just see. Mental calculation. There are 6 apples in the box. How many apple go into, so what number of times was that division sentence would be, how many apples go on each plate to share the apples equally? Okay, so it's equally. So that's 6 divided by 2. So they're introducing 0, but not all the answers are 0. There are no apples in the basket. How many apples go in each plate? So that'll be 0 divided by 0. Mental calculations, again, should be straightforward. 6 divided by 1 equals 6. So 1 times table you need to be familiar with, should be straightforward. Question 3. The correct answer is, for number sentence, is the following. Write the letter. The correct number sentence is which one? Okay, 8 times 0 is 8. Well, can't be anything times 0 is anything times 0 is 0, so that can't be right. 8 divided by 0 equals 0, or 0 divided by 8, 8 take away 0. So it's going to be B or C, but the rule to remember is that we can't share with nobody, nothing. Can't share by nobody, okay? So that's going to give you an error if you put that in the calculator. But 0, so 0 divided by 8 can be done. So if there's nothing to share, then 8 people will get nothing, okay? But sharing 2 nothing, we can't do. So we can't do 8 divided by 0, but we can do 0 nothing divided by 8. Again, I don't think if you can't get your head around that, that's not a problem really. I don't think you need to know about errors and not errors. So don't worry too much about this if your child did not get this right. Question 4, one factor is 7. What's the other factor is 10. Remember, factors are two numbers times together to give you a product. So this will be 7 times 10. And what else? How many tens are there in 30? So there are 3 tens in 30. Question part B, a little bit more trickier. Triangle times triangle. Again, triangle will be the same numbers. What same numbers give you 25? That'll give you a triangle. Then that triangle, which is 5 times what number gives you 45? 5 times 9, so that'll be 9. And then similar to B, which is a little bit more trickier. Okay, it's a little bit more trickier. So what two numbers added together give you 7, and when they divide by each other give you 0. So the way we get 0, as we said before, is by starting with 0. So the circle has to be 0, and then the triangle has to be, sorry, the star has to be 7. And write the letters and the correct answer in the brackets. So something plus that, triangle plus that equals that. A, B, C cannot be compared to. Okay, so let's see what they've got here. Okay, so we want to know which one's bigger, which one's smaller. So that clearly, if they are going to be equal, then the triangle has to be larger. Then the triangle has to be larger than the star. So the star has to be smaller. Okay, because the number that's needed added on, I think it has to be there. If your child gets that, then really great. But as I say, level Bs are a little bit more difficult, and there's a slight jump. So if they're struggling with that, not a problem. Not to worry too much about that. And we'll end the lesson here. Please do like, subscribe, and as I say, probably the largest unit so far we've covered so far in the entire series. Like and subscribe, and please make your comments and suggestions and spread the word. And thank you for your time.